goodbye once we're out the door. Leave your message here on the telephone, 'cause we've no idea when we're coming home. Any place we wander to, any season we go through, I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, running round the world with you. When you smile, I smile too. How I ever made it without you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. I feel the weather changing, better get out soon. Don't let go of my hand, no matter what you do. Well, I'm here for you, through the thick and thin. We're on a winding road that never ends. Any place we wander to, any season we go through, I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Running round the world with you. When you smile, I smile too. How I ever made it without you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Remember when we were just becoming friends? You took my hand for a dance, and I have loved you ever since. The storm is on our heels, and we'll be swept away. We better run, honey, what you say? Wanna be alright with you by my side. I can't believe you're mine. Oh, Colorado, where will we go? Oh, Virginia, I wanna show you. Anywhere, I'll take you there. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Colorado, where will we go? Oh, Virginia, I wanna show you. I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, Sojo loves. Pastor Kate here, live from the Commons. Happy to be with you through the screen again. Glad you've joined us. This morning, before we do anything else, we want to start our time together, lighting a candle, spending some time in prayer and lament. This candle we light for Jacob Blake and his family. Oh, there's fans going. Shoot. Really want that to stay lit. At least for this song. Thank you, Matthew. And Colby, grabbing the other one. Try to protect it. Speaking of protecting the light, we also light this candle for every single Black life in our country that is still not safe, still not protected. It is painful to live in our country and know in our bones that Black lives are not protected here. They are not safe and looked out for. And sometimes it can feel like so bad that we just want to give up. And so just a reminder today that we can't give up. And we do need to gather and lament, and also remember that we have a part to play. So as this first song plays, we want this song to be two things: a prayer of lament, for sure, over the state of our country and unprotected Black lives. And then we also want it to be a prayer that is a call to action, to remind ourselves that we have a part to play, that we have things we need to be doing. And so let us pray both those things this morning throughout this song, to pray for Jacob Blake and his family, to lament over the state of our country and the continued lack of seeing that Black lives matter. And then let's also let it be a call to move forward and keep doing what we can do, both individually and as a collective.
I grew up with reverence for the red, white, and blue. Spoke of God and liberty, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Learned love of country from my own family. Some shivered and prayed, approaching the beaches of Normandy. The flag waves high, and that's how it should be. So many lives given and taken in the name of freedom. But the story's complicated and hard to read. Pages of the book obscured or torn out completely. I am a child of Uncle Sam, and I struggle to understand the good and evil. So I'm doing the best I can in a place built on stolen land with stolen people. Blood in the soil with the cotton and tobacco. Blood in the soil with the cotton and tobacco. Blood in the soil with the cotton and tobacco. A misnamed people in a kidnapped race. Laws may change, but we can't erase the scars of a nation. Of children devalued and disavowed, displaced by greed and the arrogance of manifest destiny. Short-sighted to say it was a long time ago. Not even 2 lifetimes have passed since the days of Lincoln. The sins of Andrew Jackson, the shame of Jim Crow, and time moves slow and the tragedies are beyond description. I am a child of Uncle Sam, and I struggle to understand the good and evil. So I'm doing the best I can in a place built on stolen land with stolen people. We are more than the sum of our parts. All these broken homes and broken hearts. God, will you keep us wherever we go? Will you forgive us for where we've been? We Americans. Blood on the table with the coffee and the sugar. Blood on the table with the coffee and the sugar. Blood on the table with the coffee and the sugar. I've been to every state and seen shore to shore. Still there's open wounds of the Civil War. Watch blind hatred bounce back and forth, seen vile prejudice both in the South and the North. And accountability is hard to impose on ghosts of ancestors haunting the halls of our conscience. But the path of grace and goodwill is still here for those of us who may be considered among the living. I am a child of God and man, and I may never understand the good and evil, but I dearly love this land because of and in spite of we the people. We are more than the sum of our parts. All these broken homes and broken hearts, God, will you keep us wherever we go? Can you forgive us for where we've been? We Americans, we Americans, love in our hearts with the pain and the memory, love in our hearts with the pain and the memory, love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love, 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 love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love, 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 love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love, 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 love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Love in our hearts with the pain and the memory. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Sojourn Grace Collective. My name's Colby, and along with Kate, who, if you were with us earlier, I'm a co-pastor here at Sojourn, and that song is from the Avett Brothers, and we wanted to share it this morning in part as a cry of lament, as we reflect on this this land that was built on stolen land and the backs of stolen people, and there's blood in the soil, and as complicated as it is, we are here doing the best we can. As the song says, I love this land because of and in spite of we the people. And so we try to hold that both and that paradox here at Sojourn. And thanks for being here with us and holding that space in that moment. This is Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Colby.
Thanks for letting me do music with you today.
I'm so excited you're singing.
Isn't this fun?
A lot of people are excited you're behind a guitar again, too.
Don't do this very often.
No.
Want to do one of my faves?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. I love this song. The song's called Head to the Heart, and it speaks of this journey of moving not just in our place of our head and intellectualizing and reasoning and thinking everything, but making that journey down to the heart where we sit with the moment, we sit with the present, we sit with our emotions, which is what we're going to talk about later on today in our gathering. So the song is called Head to Heart, and you can get the lyrics of the songs that we sing on Sunday mornings at sojourngrace.com/virtual. I open up to you. This love that makes me new. Oh, may my heart receive this love that carries me from the head to the heart. Take me on a journey heart is open wide, and I will receive the light. 'Cause my heart is open wide. I will receive the light. 'Cause you give me faith like a child. In you my heart runs wild. There's no shame. There's no shame. Looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep. Take a hold of you. There's no shame. Looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep. Take a hold of you.
More than words, more than good ideas. Yeah, I found your love in the open fields. More than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open fields. That are more than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open fields. More than words, more than good ideas. I found your love in the open field.
Head to the heart. Take me on a journey of letting go.
Lost in you, from the head
To the heart.
you
Take me on a journey of letting go. Getting lost in you. There's no shame in looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep. Take a hold of you. There's no shame in looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep. Take a hold of you. Yeah. Take a hold of you. Lovely. Pastor Kate, would you like to walk us through this next segment of our gathering where we get to interact with you, the beautiful people?
Yes, time to turn to the comments and to each other and have a moment of connection since we can't be in person and greet each other there and hug each other someday soon. Just turn to the comments and talk to each other and ask each other today this hilarious question. What is your second favorite emotion? Not your first, not the most obvious, but your second favorite emotion. I don't know, guys. Colby writes these questions.
I love to wake up in the morning, but keep dreaming without wording. The day is gone. And sometimes I take a walk, but sun. Lie in the sun. Yeah. Lie in the sun. Yeah. My friends are sitting laughing, but I just keep on laughing. They're knocking on my door, but I'm knocking them down. They say I'm acting crazy, but I just wanna lie in the sun. Whoa, I just wanna lie in the sun. Yeah, lie in the sun. My friends are sitting laughing, but I just keep on laughing. They're knocking on my door, but I'm knocking them down. They say I'm acting crazy, but I just wanna lie in the sun.
Okay, thank you for participating in that relatively obscure, at first glance question, but then I think it's a fun one to engage with once you push past the initial awkwardness, but I could be alone in that. But I do want to call out, I think my favorite comment is Nancy Jungling, who said that her sweet Enneagram 5 husband is still trying to find the first emotion, which is just a wonderfully delightful response to that. So that's fantastic. All right. We're going to do a song that you guys did 2 weeks ago for the movie The Farewell. And this song showed up in the film, and it just grabs you, as it does. And then you guys discovered it was a Leonard Cohen song, which just makes sense. Oh, that's why it grabs you.
Yeah.
But I think in many ways it is an anthem for our mission here at Sojourn, which is wholeness. Another way to talk about wholeness is healing, putting things back together that have been broken or seem to be broken. And so this song calls out and invites for healing of the body, healing of the mind, healing of the spirit. So hope you enjoy it and or sing along if you have the lyrics.
Oh, gather up the brokenness and bring it to me now. The fragrance of those promises you never dared to vow. The splinters that you carry, the cross you left behind. Come healing of the body, come healing of the mind. Oh, and let the heavens hear it, that penitential hymn. Come healing of the spirit, come healing of the limb.
Behold the gates of mercy in arbitrary space, and none of us deserving the cruelty or the grace. Oh, solitude of longing, love has been confined. Come healing of the body, come healing of the mind. Oh, see the darkness yielding that tore the light apart. Come healing of the reason, come healing of the heart.
Troubled dust concealing an undivided love. The heart beneath is teaching to the broken heart above. Oh, let the heavens falter and let the earth proclaim. Come healing of the altar, come healing of the name. Longing of the branches to lift the little bud. Oh, longing of the arteries to purify the blood. Yes, and let the heavens hear it, the penitential spirit, this penitential hymn. Come, healing of the spirit, come, healing of the limb.
Lost and weary traveler, searching for the way to go. Stranger, heavy-hearted, longing for someone you know. May you find a light. May you find a light. May you find a light to guide you home.
This song we will use as a practice of meditation. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now, if you're in your pajamas, on your couch, or in your bed all cozy, just take a moment to get even cozier. If you're running around with your kids, just take a moment to bring your attention to your breath and remember that it's okay to have your attention going to several things at once while you meditate. That's fine. Whatever you're doing right now, we're just going to take a moment to ground, to center, and to unlearn and relearn. We were told that we were lost, and then we were given a very specific definition of what it means to be lost. Separation from the divine and from each other. Sinners separated from an angry God. And so then anytime we felt lost, had a very real experience of being lost, anytime we couldn't find our way, had a human experience, then our belief in separation was reinforced. Oh, I'm just experiencing the separation that I was taught from the pulpit. But to be lost is to be human. To be lost is not to be separate. To be lost is to be human. And to be human is to be connected. Our experience of being lost is actually what connects us. For who doesn't know what it is to be a weary traveler? We are all the same in this. In those moments when you've come to the end of the road and you've no idea where to turn, when all you see is the fog, when it feels like there's no point, no ground, no holding, when you are lost, you are held in the connection of human experience. So take a moment this morning to reflect on a time, a very specific time, when you've been lost. And as you recollect that experience, what it felt like for you in your body, may you also gather images of the human experience. With a hand on your heart, remember others close to you and their stories, their periods of wandering, of confusion, of weary traveling, of being lost. And let your heart, in this moment, feel close in the lostness, connected. For when you are lost, you are held in the web of human experience. Every story ever lived is with you and in you and for you.
Lost and weary traveler, searching for the way to go. Stranger, heavy-hearted, longing for someone you know. May you find a light. May you find light. May you find light to guide you home.
We've been taught to search for light outside of ourselves. From our indoctrination of needing a savior in order to be counted as God's family, to our indoctrination of needing to work more hours than we rest or play in order to be counted as citizens. We've been taught to search for light outside of ourselves. Our very bodies have been trained to search out there for God, for light, for knowing, for worth, for home. So this morning, I invite you to place your hand on your stomach, where your intuition lives and breathes and moves and has her being. And I invite you to keep it there for the rest of this song. And as you breathe in and out and you feel your belly expand, let your hand experience your breath and let yourself name it as light. Light that lives inside of you. May you be your own lighthouse, your own North Star. May you take yourself by the hand and walk yourself home. May you find a light within. As the band sings, may you find a light, I invite you to follow each line. Each time they say that, follow it up with a whisper of within. May you find a light within, within, within. The light is within. May you find it.
There are many strangers searching for somewhere you go. Strangers who are searching, longing deeply to be known. May you find light. May you find light. May you find light to guide you home. May you find the light. May you find a light. May you find a light to guide you home. Lost and weary traveler, searching for the way to go. Amen.
First day of school, very, very exciting. I was up late last night figuring out a new plan. Here it is, fear. I need a list of all the possible negative outcomes on the first day at a new school.
Way ahead of you there. Does anyone know how to spell meteor?
Disgust. Make sure Riley stands out today, but also blends in.
When I'm through, Riley will look so good, the other kids will look at their own outfits and barf.
Joy. Yes, Joy. You'll be in charge of the console, keeping Riley happy all day long. And may I add, I love your dress. It's adorable. Oh, this whole thing? Thank you so much. I love the way it twirls. Train of thought, right on schedule. Anger. Unload the daydreams. I ordered extra in case things get slow in class.
Might come in handy if this new school is full of boring, useless classes, which it probably will be.
Oh, sadness. I have a super important job just for you. Really? Mm-hmm. Follow me.
What are you doing?
And there. Perfect. This is the circle of sadness. Your job is to make sure that all the sadness stays inside of it.
Good morning again. We are going to have a discussion about the movie Inside Out. And to start that discussion today, we have Lilia Porter, who convinced us to do this movie for our series, Meaning in Movies. Here's Lilia.
Hey everyone! I am super thrilled that first of all I get to talk about this movie, and also that I had some influence over forcing you all to watch this movie. Huzzah! The first question I wanted to answer is, where do you see yourself/story? One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Joy and Bing Bong are first stuck in the memory dump, and Joy is taking in all these soon-to-be-forgotten memories. She investigates the memory she discussed with Sadness earlier on, the one where Riley is surrounded by her teammates and her parents, and they're cheering for her, but then Joy rewinds it. The teammates disappear first, and then Riley's parents do too, until it's just Riley, alone, sitting in that tree. At the same time, the color of the memory shifts from yellow to blue, and Joy realizes something that she forgot. All those people came to Riley because of Sadness. That uplifting moment that Joy recalls was only possible because Riley was sad first. Back in Denver, when I was around Riley's age and auditioning for musicals pretty regularly, it may shock you to learn that I did not get parts that often, or like ever, really. I was a kid who could learn dances quickly and hold a harmony pretty well, which is the kiss of death in children's theater, trust me. Sticking me in the chorus meant that the artistic team consistently had at least one kid they knew would sing the alto part and teach the younger kids the dance moves, so there it is. Anyway, as you can probably imagine, this trend got real discouraging after a while. I mean, theater was all I wanted to do, and I knew I could handle lead roles, so why did I never get them? I was frustrated, I was angry, I was disappointed, and most of all, I was sad. But I felt like I had to put on a good face, because I knew I would have fun in the show. I always did, but that sadness was still there, even if I never let myself really acknowledge it. One of these times, when a cast list came out, and I was listed with 20 other kids in the adult chorus again, I hid under a chair for probably an hour or so, I think, trying not to cry and probably failing miserably. That was when my mom came to me and said, "All right, you have 24 hours. You have 24 hours to be as sad, as angry, as self-pitying as you need to be. Complain about the kids who got cast as the leads, feel bad for yourself, cry, whatever you need to do for 24 hours. Once that time is up, start focusing on the positive." One thing I noticed after I started utilizing the 24 hours thing is that while the disappointment of not getting a lead role still hurt a little, it wasn't as distracting as it used to be. It was a lot easier for me to be happy with what I could do in my part because I'd already let myself go to that dark place and allowed myself to dig into all those other emotions, all that sadness. I was able to forgive myself for feeling that way because I could realize there wasn't anything to forgive myself for. Those feelings were just as valid as any excitement or happiness I felt because they were just as justified and real. I started using the 24 hours thing for other aspects of my life, not just cast lists being posted. Bad job interview where I ended up being the only applicant not hired, 24 hours. My current crush and I became really close and then they got back together with their ex. Again. No, really, this has happened 5 separate times with 5 entirely separate people. I feel like I should start a business or something. 24 hours. Seeing all my old classmates graduate without me because at first I had to drop out and then I ended up choosing to not go back to college. 24 hours. Well, maybe I gave myself at least 48 hours for that one. This was the first film I remember seeing where I witnessed such a beautiful acknowledgement of how important sadness is. I think we all know a lot of people who have been told all their lives how important it is to stay happy, to focus on the positive, to bury those quote-unquote negative emotions, because no one likes a Debbie Downer. Maybe we are those people ourselves. Maybe it was really easy for me to embrace the idea of the 24 hours practice because I am such a 4, y'all. I don't have any issue with going to that dark place. But that was never a narrative I saw growing up, and if I did, it was never shown through a young girl. And then this movie. It was such a breath of fresh air for me that I get to take in again every time I watch this film. Even as I sob through pretty much the entire second half, it's fine, don't worry about it. The other question I wanted to talk about is, what does it say about the meaning of life? One of my favorite things about this series as a whole has been witnessing both Kate and Colby's discussions about the films, as well as the discussions in the comments on the live streams. It's why I want to pursue a career in storytelling. Nothing gives me life more than seeing how one story can bring out so many different things for different people. It's one of the things I like about humans. So, with that being said, here's what I think the film says about the potential meaning of life, but maybe yours is different, and I think that's super neat. That was a disclaimer because I know I grew up hearing the whole man's chief end is to glorify God and enjoy him forever thing, so I'm still like, maybe life has different meanings for different people though, but is that okay? Anyway. I have always enjoyed the little credits montage at the end of the film, and if you stop the movie before getting to see it, please watch it if you can. Not only is it funny and clever, especially if you have a cat, it ties into my whole meaning of life thing, so here we go. It struck me this time as we watched it how much love and attention to detail was put into that montage. They took minor characters who appeared once, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the entire film, or even not at all, and gave them an entire storyline and character arc in less than 30 seconds. They showed us how even these side characters have those 5 emotions at the control panel, and their own journeys outside of what we as the audience witnessed. As I was mulling that over, my mom mentioned that one thing that stood out to her this time was how incredibly clear it was that, regardless of each emotion's individual personality, every single one of them loved Riley so fiercely and unconditionally. Every single one of their actions centered around wanting the best for her. Was it always a good choice they made because of it? Not necessarily, and that's a whole other conversation. But it was always born out of love and this want and need to have Riley, their girl, receive only the very best. And that got me thinking about all those other characters at the end of the film. Every single character, from the classroom teacher to the cool kid to the poor birthday party clown, had not only those 5 emotions living in their head with their own stories, they had those 5 emotions living in their head and loving them fiercely and unconditionally. The movie shows us, in that end credits scene, just a snippet of other characters' humanity. Colby talked some last week in Everything is Illuminated about the idea of the other and how easy it can be for us to dismiss someone we don't understand or know anything about or disagree with simply because they're not like us. It's easier to dehumanize someone we don't understand than it is to try and figure out how on earth they can be the way that they are and act the way they do and say the things they say. Even then, I don't think understanding them is necessarily the point. But if it helps at all to think that even this person that we cannot for the life of us understand or even want to interact with, for the sake of our own sanity perhaps, has 5 emotional beings in their head who love them fiercely and unconditionally, just like we do, maybe that can help us to be kind to them at the very least, whatever that looks like. Just like we say every week here at Sojo, be kind, because everyone else is a child of God, just like you are. Yay.
Oh, Lilia, thank you so much for sharing that. I loved your insights. I sent you a message this morning and I said, thank you. Those are so smart, so spot on, so honest. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. I loved that insight that you had about the whole meaning of life and just stopping to pause about how everybody else also has all of these emotions going on that are trying to advocate for them, and it leads people to maybe sometimes different actions, but that's a lot of beautiful compassion there. So thank you for leading us in that way, and thanks for poking at us and pestering at us to politely, you were very polite, pester and poke, to have us do this movie Inside Out.
I like the word polite. She was funny and cute.
She was funny and cute. Okay, you were great. Thank you. That's a good correction. It's not about polite.
I just hate that word.
It's great. It's a good word.
I hate that word.
You're muted, so nobody even.
nobody heard me.
She tried to correct me, and nobody even heard it.
That's pretty funny.
Do you want to say it again?
No.
Okay.
It was stupid.
It was one of those.
I really just wanted to say that you're funny and cute, Lilia. That's all. Which, if you're like me, and you are because you're a 4, that was a really annoying thing to say just now.
Stephen affirms she was so funny and cute.
She was so funny and cute.
Yes, that's correct.
I was just telling Colby not to call you polite because I hate the word polite. He didn't do anything wrong. I just hate that word. Lilia taught me something huge in that, to where I still haven't wrapped my head around it. I got to watch it because we get to watch those things earlier before all of you, and I've still been pondering it since I watched it the first time, and then I listened to it again just now while you all were watching it. I'm still pondering it, and I still don't get it fully, but basically when she brought our attention to, she's just talking about those emotions characters, which obviously are just made up characters, but she's like, they love her unconditionally. And I was like, whoa, I'm having a huge moment right now. I know they're made up characters, but there's something so deep and so profound about that, of someone's own emotions loving you unconditionally. That just, I can't even put words to it, because I'm still trying to, what if it's true? I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but Lily was talking about it so casually, like a given, and I was like,
no, hold it back up.
Stop right now!
That's game-changing.
Something's happening for me. I haven't at all fleshed out my thoughts on that, but there's something very profound happened inside of me when she said it, so that's all. Don't have anything profound to say about it, just something happened to me when she said it.
You just wanted to audibly click like on what she said.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
no, I wouldn't have clicked like, I would have clicked love.
Oh, I forget that's an option now. And the little heart squeeze.
No, not that one, that's I care. I'm saying I would have clicked love.
Guys, I don't use these reactions, so I don't know them. I have a whole philosophy of not
Colby,
using those reactions.
what did you think about Inside Out?
I thought we should do our colors according to the various emotions. So you might see that behind us we have all the different colors represented of the blue and the red and the green and the yellow and the purple. So that's fun. Bonus points if anybody picked up on that before this moment right here. But yeah, you want to dig into our first question?
Yeah.
So we've been asking 6 questions each week on these movies, and Lilia was the brilliant response to 2 of those questions. How'd you see yourself in it? And then what did it say about the meaning of life? So we don't need to say any more about that. All has been said. So we're going to go now with this question here. And the question is, I realize we don't have a preview monitor today, so I can kind of hear that the scene went, but yes, the scene went. Where did you see Christ/Jesus, right? Is that what it said, Matthew? Okay, great. That's the question we're responding to.
We're a hot mess,
Although yesterday was a whole lot better, thankfully. Okay, great. Where did you see Christ/Jesus in this movie? Here's what I want to say about that. One of the main features that we engage with when we experience what Jesus calls the kingdom of God is this radical upheaval of previous values and assumptions and expectations that we used to hold. In other words, when we confront truth and we move toward wholeness, there's often this great reversal of our past. What we used to hold dear, how we used to see things in this situation, how we used to think about and believe about this thing or that thing suddenly has been altered, has been changed. There's a reversal there. You might say that the kingdom of God is this disruptor of our past. When we encounter Christ, when we encounter the deep truth of reality, when we come face to face with the source of love, things start to look different. And that includes an assessment of our past. And I bring this up because one of the things that this movie explores and I think portrays really well is how our memories and our experiences from the past are not locked into one particular narrative. Or you might say an experience from the past isn't destined to always be colored by one emotion more so than another. For instance, things that used to be happy, that used to bring joy, can change and then become a sad memory. And vice versa. Things that happened in the past that maybe were a point of suffering and pain can be transformed then into a memory of a source of joy. I was thinking about all this, and my opinion is that Jesus had these sort of experiences throughout life. These reversals, these shifts in values, these experiences that change the way he sees things. Because I don't think you just get to become a spiritually enlightened person without wrestling through these sorts of experiences and phenomenons. I don't think that Jesus' deep wisdom was just like programmed into him magically, that he was born with this divine program that would one day be activated so that he just sort of all of a sudden understood some of the deepest mysteries of the universe. No, I think he earned some of those lessons and that wisdom through these experiences. He experienced life and struggle. For instance, he knew what it was like to live in a land that did not belong to you. He knew what it was like to be controlled by forces and systems that were not designed for your flourishing. He knew what it was like, in other words, to quote Howard Thurman, to have his back against the wall. And while contemporaries of his chose paths such as fighting and rebelling back, like the Zealots, or integrating with and sort of making compromises to your deepest values just to get along with the power structures, like the Sadducees, or just pull out from the whole thing altogether, go find a place in the wilderness and just set up shop and do your own thing, like the Essenes. No, the image that we get in the Gospels is that Jesus took an entirely different route in these moments. A route where his enemies, his oppressors, were not people to be hated and fought against, but instead fellow humans to be loved and forgiven and prayed for. He took a route where the people that were at most odds with the Jewish people, which is in this case the Samaritans, he took a route that the Samaritans were not seen as foreigners to be ridiculed or reviled, but instead were seen as fellow children of God who actually harnessed all the same potential for goodness that the Jewish people did. This is the point of the story of the Good Samaritan, that a Samaritan can be good. So what am I saying? That I think Jesus' deep experiences with God, resulted in him radically reversing many of the stories and the narratives of the past. The first shall be last is a great reversal. The meek shall inherit the earth is a great reversal. Leaders shall serve is a great reversal. The mourners shall be comforted. The Roman centurion can demonstrate what great faith looks like. The smallest seed shall become, I had a really hard time earlier with my S's, and it's coming back again.
You're having a hard S day.
A hard S day. The smallest seed shall become a great place of rest for the weary. We lost the point a little bit, but yeah, you get. I hope you understand what I'm saying, which is that I think Jesus' experiences in his life testify to this, where you engage and interact with reality, capital R. You engage and interact with source. You engage, in other words, with the kingdom of God, and as a result, the stories of the past, the narratives of the past, they get flipped, they're reversed. They're no longer the same. So for me, when I watch this movie and I see Riley, and Lilia, you alluded to this scene as well, when I see Riley having this experience where she looks back at happy memories and now sees them as sad, or looks back at sad memories and now finds joy in them, not only am I reminded, like Lilia as well, not only am I reminded that that's been true for me in my own life, that in the present moment, some experiences would have been colored deep blue, deeply sad. And then years after the fact, when I look back on it, I'm like, actually, that thing created a lot of joy in my life. Like I have experienced this as well, but this is also what I think it means to have this openness to a life of interacting with the kingdom of God, to let the past be changed, to let it be rearranged and redefined. That was how I saw Christ. / Jesus. Noise?
I love your ability to see Jesus in anything. I was like, that question doesn't apply to this movie. And Colby's like, I've got a sermon. That's awesome.
Thanks, darling. All right, shall we attempt question 2 about the...
I'm not going to, but I'm going to listen to you do it.
Oh, you're... Awesome. All right, so this is always fun for Colby. What Enneagram numbers do you think the characters are? And I'm just not as good of an Enneagram assessor as my dear partner over here. So she likes when I go first, and then she can
No,
modify my
sorry.
answers.
Yes, I do like that, but I actually didn't assess this movie for Enneagram
Okay.
numbers because it didn't work
So
for me to do so.
here's what came up for me. I was just thinking about the 5 emotions: joy and sadness, disgust, fear, and anger. Sorry, Matthew. Anger's like anger. Don't forget
Sorry,
me.
Matthew.
And I was thinking, what Enneagram number do those map onto? Maybe if you kind of just reduce sometimes Enneagram to their greatest stereotypes. So I thought that joy.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, joy. Yeah, you don't like doing that, do you? Which is a good practice to not do. I thought joy maps on pretty well with type 7, as well as with the side of type 3. I think both of these types tend to maybe have. If you were to imagine, like several of the characters in the movie, when you saw inside their brains, you saw that one of the emotions was at the center seat, like sort of driving the whole thing. So for Riley, it was joy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So each of the characters had a
didn't notice
different emotion sitting at the center of the console. So I think 7s with the side of 3 have joy sort of sitting at the middle. Then when I think about sadness, I think about type 4, so sitting at the center of the console. When I think about anger, I think of types 8, and also 9 might have anger sitting at the center of the console. When I think of fear, I think of type 6 and 5 might have fear sitting at the center of the console. And then disgust for me came up with type 1 when things are just not the way they're supposed to be, and also with the side of type 2. So that's how I fit all 9 types into the 5 emotions.
My head is going to many places with that. I want to talk about all the triads and all the body centers. But sure, I see what you're saying. The character of joy. See, the problem with having characters that were emotions was I got too caught up in that of they're just supposed to signify an emotion in another person, but they're also a character. But anyway, the character of joy really reminds me of you a lot, so that's spot on.
Neat. And I identify type 3. Sammy feels like 8.
Exactly.
Anger is type 8. And maybe fear type 9. I can get down with that. Michelle says, lol, Kate, your face. So, yes, lots of good Kate faces, in my opinion, as well. Okay, want to move on from Enneagram? Lilia, our inside-out professional here, says, yes, all the characters have a different core emotion that sits at the center. Provides an interesting insight into these smaller characters, like the mom has sadness, the dad anger, etc. Yeah. All right, but yeah, Enneagram typing was a little bit hard because the emotion was so just that emotion, and the Enneagram clearly tries to map on more than that. Okay, let's move on to skipping question 3. How about question 4? This question goes like this. What truths about transformation were revealed or illuminated by this movie? Here's what I think, or here's what came up for me, I should say, is that when you cut off one emotion, you run the risk of losing access to all of them. And I thought this was illustrated really well as joy and sadness as they leave, what's that place called? The center, the main...
Control center.
Yeah, control. As they leave control center, suddenly the other 3 emotions begin to become less effective, and eventually even the console fades. Talk about that in a minute. But when you try and just cut off one emotion, repress it, suppress it, ignore it, you end up losing access really to all of the emotions. There's that, I talked about it a second ago, but there's that scene where when joy and sadness are not in control center anymore, you start to see the center console, which usually the center console is all lit up with all different colors and buttons. It has this effect of starting to be grayed over. And that happens as Riley's on the bus considering running away from home and going back to Minnesota. And what the remaining emotions, fear and disgust and anger, what they discover is they say, we're losing control of Riley. We can't control Riley anymore. Suddenly Riley is no longer able to be in touch with any of her emotions because she's been so supremely cut off from sadness and from joy. I pulled this quote from Brene Brown, Saint Brene, in her book, The Power of Vulnerability. And here's what Brene says about this same phenomenon. She writes, you can't numb the hard feelings without numbing the other effects and the other emotions. You can't selectively numb. We talk about this a lot in our house, don't we? You can't selectively numb. When we numb those, the hard feelings, we numb joy, we numb gratitude, we numb happiness, and then we're miserable, and then we're looking for purpose and meaning, and then we feel vulnerable, so then we have a couple of beers and a banana nut muffin, and it becomes this dangerous cycle. You can't selectively
I love that that's what
numb.
Renee said. A couple of beers and
A
a banana
banana
nut
nut
muffin.
muffin.
Renee, your choices in life are fantastic.
So transformation then, part of the work of growth and transformation as I see it and I experience it, is practicing this tender respect for every part of our emotional world, which goes back to what you were saying, highlighting what Lilia was saying, is how our emotional world is for us. There's this unconditional love for us. So maybe the invitation is to...
For our wholeness.
For our wholeness. The invitation for us is to let them love us and to hold all parts of us with this tender respect and care. Yeah, we may not like some emotions as much as others.
Yeah.
That's very true. But the path towards wholeness doesn't run towards trying to shut down or silence the less favorable ones. The path towards wholeness involves inviting all of them without judgment.
Okay. Fascinating story about that whole concept of when you numb one emotion, you, how do we phrase it, run the risk of cutting them all off. We almost always talk about that in terms of numbing to our negative emotions, because that's a typical struggle in our world, in our avoidance of negative emotions. But what's fascinating in an Enneagram 4 life, where you are completely comfortable with negative emotions, is that the same concept still applies, but my story isn't of numbing the negative emotions. My story is of numbing the happy, powerful, positive,
Yeah.
quote unquote, positive emotions. And it works the same exact way. It's just weird for people to understand, because most people accept joy and happiness pretty easily and fight sadness and anger and all those. But I'm just the flipped opposite. But the concept is still exactly the same. So that means that just like a person who tries to stay happy all the time and they numb the sadness, they won't really fully experience the joy. They start, numbing that too. It works the flip opposite. So I wasn't actually moving through like sadness or grief, for instance, because I was numbing all that joy in my life. So I was sitting there thinking I was just like a person who really deals with their pain, but I wasn't really, because I was not opening myself to joy and gladness. So that's fascinating.
That's cool. No, I love it. I'm just sitting in the coolness of that. Also cool, Irma Jean Martin says, hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I believe she's referring to herself, but I'm trying to allow all parts of me to breathe. Thanks for being honest. I'm also trying that as well.
Beautiful.
Michelle Nickel, numb is something I'm a pro at. Now I want a muffin. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Get yourself a muffin. Okay. Question, we call this question 5, but it's the 4th one we're addressing, and the numbers are all weird. I'm not going to worry about it, although I clearly
It's
did
driving
just worry
your
about it.
Enneagram 3
Yes,
crazy.
clearly worried about it out loud and then declared I'm not going to worry about it. But
That's how you work through it.
yes, it is. What unhealthy stereotypes and or narratives were exposed or perpetuated in this film? Okay, so here's what we're going to say about that. And I say we because I think Kate might hop in after I say this thing. This movie, really the whole thrust of this movie is to bring to life, to personify and to bring to life what you might call the classical theory of emotions, which is that we have, in the movie 5, more they would say 6, but as I read about this week, the creators at Pixar didn't feel like they could fit 6 characters into the story, so they cut off surprise. But whatever, 5 or 6, the idea is that we have these basic emotions, and they're pretty much built in or hardwired into us. And in many ways, or maybe most ways, we are slaves to those emotions. And this view that we are not largely responsible for our emotions. We don't really have all that much, if any, control over them. This is sort of the classical view of emotions, and this is what the movie demonstrated so beautifully. However, in recent years, this classical understanding of emotions has been challenged a bit with some new research into the brain and the body, suggesting that maybe we haven't the whole picture when it comes to emotions and how we relate to them and how they relate to us. And this research has been led by Lisa Feldman Barrett out of the Northeastern University College of Science, who is trying to get the message out that we are learning more and more about how we might have more control over our emotions than we thought. If you're interested in this, by the way, which I think you should be, I'd check out 2 sources this week. First, Lisa has an incredible TED Talk viewed over 5 million times titled, "You Aren't at the Mercy of Your Emotions, Your Brain Creates Them," which is a great overview of her research. And then second, which is how we came across her, because you introduced it to me, is the NPR podcast Invisibilia.
Best podcast ever.
Season 3 has like a couple episodes that interact with the topic of emotions, and they use Lisa's research to explore this new understanding of emotions.
I listened to that episode and I was like, Colby, you have to listen to this. So I listened to it twice because I listened to it by myself, and then I made you listen to it and listen to it with you. So good.
It's so good. So all I wanted to say about that is, I don't know if we're yet ready to call this unhealthy narrative in terms of how the classical thinking of emotions have been understood. But if Lisa and her team and those who are researching this are more correct, that maybe we do have more control over it. Because the movie really does sort of show that as the emotions go, so goes Riley. That Riley is really just dependent upon what the emotions of herself are doing. This is how we just often understand it, is that I'm angry and I can't really control that, so I'm a slave to my anger. But what Lisa and her team is suggesting is that emotions are not built in to us, but that our brain builds them in the moment. That our brain is rapidly predicting what we should think and feel next based on past stimuli and experiences and data. So the brain is using our past experiences to build these models of prediction to then sort of give us, okay, well, here's the emotion I think you should have in this experience. And what Lisa is suggesting is that we can work to sort of be proactive about what we sort of feed our brain so that it gives us different emotional responses to different stimuli. And I was thinking about this morning. I don't know if Lisa would totally sign off on my example, but here's what I was thinking this morning. Is I didn't grow up with pets. I didn't grow up with animals around the house. So the experience of sound and touch that are related to having pets in the house was not at all something that my brain had data on. So then when I marry Kate and we start to build a family and we start to bring animals into the house, my brain didn't have any data to pull from to produce emotions or when I had experiences with the animals. Here's an example that tells me that I know that my brain now does have data. Is the other day, we have 3 of the most fascinating pets right now. And our little baby boy cat is a bit of a terror. He's in the terrible 2/3 category of his cat life. And he just creates havoc and chases the elder cat around, and then the dog.
He's the actual worst.
He is the actual worst. I wasn't going to say it. But so he chases the elder cat around, and then our dog chases him around. And it's just this cycle of madness and chaos in our house. There are often sounds that just appear out of nowhere the other side of the house. I might be in the TV or in the living room just watching TV. There's a sound that appears that, quite honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that I've now lived with these animals for a while now, I should have the response of fear. Like somebody just entered our house and is going to now attack us. But I'm able to, in that moment, my brain predicts the model of, no, you know what those sounds are like, and you know how to understand this moment, therefore no fear is needed. Another example is when Nala, our large cat, when she gets hungry, she comes and finds me and rubs her furry body up against my leg. Now, up until cats, my brain had no reason to interpret furry thing across my leg as anything other than panic, fear, and disgust. Like if a furry thing touches my leg, I'm gonna freak out. But now, my brain has this awareness that when the furry thing touches my leg, my brain instantly knows what to pull on for that, so the emotion of fear and disgust doesn't come up. And I think that's kind of what Lisa's talking about, is that we're not just the slave to our emotions, we can contribute to the building of them.
Not at the mercy of.
Not at the mercy of. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a much better word. So, anyway, I think that was a little long for me to be talking. But
That's okay. I just feel like this subject and Lisa's work and the entire evolution of understanding emotions for us, which we're still just so brand new to in human consciousness, is just such a big discussion that I'm just like, there's too much to say for this tiny little chunk of time here with our people. But also, I have to tell my friend Stephen that, yeah, my sweet little Gil, he still is my sweet little Gil
He's
too,
wonderful.
but also the actual worst. Yeah. I mean,
Which
you
is
guys, I can't believe I'm telling you
toddlers.
this. I was sitting on the toilet the other day and, mid-toilet, so can't do anything. And he just jumped on my back and dug his claws straight into my skin and was just hanging from my back while I was sitting on the can.
Thanks for your share.
He's the actual worst. It was also the middle of the night when this happened. Okay, anyway.
All right.
He's still my sweet little Gil.
He is wonderful. So that's the movie Inside Out. I hope that you.
Oh, is that all our questions?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Okay. Crap.
What?
There was something I was going to share. Oh,
You
I
still
wanted
can.
to. I don't know if it's still readable because once the comments go back. Laura, where's your comment? Oh, I just wanted to read Laura's comment because I love this. Back to the thinking about the emotions is
I'm gonna let you
inside
take
our
it from
head,
here.
different parts. I just wanted to read Laura's comment out loud in case people missed it. She said she has so many thoughts about that insight from Lilia about these characters loving us. It reminds me of IFS, internal family systems. The idea that inside of us are all these different parts, totally, right, who react to certain things. And while some of their reactions may be unhealthy for ourselves or for others, their purpose is always to try to protect us. When we can discover that our own anger or hate or whatever is just trying to love us by helping us get what we need, then we can accept our own negative feelings, which is a major key to regulating them. I feel like that comment right there actually oh, you put it up, that's wonderful. I feel like that kind of encompasses Lisa Feldman Barrett's work on emotions and Inside Out. It kind of takes it all and holds it all. And I love that, so I just want to share. Okay, music! Y'all are the best. These comments are amazing today.
So we're going to do a little bit of a song here, and then Kate's going to come back up in a minute to walk us through communion. So if you don't have elements yet, feel free to use the next 2 minutes to go grab something to drink and eat. And as soon as I knew that I was going to do some music on the week of Inside Out, my mind went right to this song called Be Where You Are. One of the verses says, "Don't be afraid of how you feel. Don't look for life in the past or the future. Look right at it dead in the eye, because after this moment there's a new one." And then the chorus is, "Be where you are. Just be right where you are. My friend, have you lost hold again? Do you feel like somebody else? Have you got fire in your mind keeps you up at night? I watch you run round, head down, and disregard it. I see you running from your shadow. How can I ask you please to stay? You can run till you've got nothing left. We'll still end up face to face. So be where you are. Be where you are.
Whatever you have with you, I have a Nutri-Grain bar and a sparkling water. And this morning, just take a moment to have a physical, tangible, in our bodies reminder that we are good and we are loved and all of us belongs. All of our emotions, all of our experiences, all of our stories, all of what makes up who we are as humans, everything human belongs, and we love you. So together we'll take of the bread and remember that we belong. whenever I think of taking a sip of what we metaphorically think of as blood, it's been so helpful for me to, instead of shying away from that word blood, and especially about what we were taught it meant if you grew up in a Christian church, it's been so helpful for me to lean into it, that life is bloody. So every time I take of the blood, I try to remember that it means that connection to the divine happens in the blood of life, the messy, the dirty, the gritty, the violent, the painful, that the divine never leaves, and in fact is with us in those moments. And we experience divine love through those moments. So as you take of whatever drink you have this morning, maybe it's coffee, or sparkling water, whatever it is, just remember that as messy as life gets, the divine is here now in us.
Don't be afraid of how you feel. Don't look for life in the past or future. Look right at it, dead in the eye. After this moment, there's a new one. So be where you are. Be where you are. I know that it gets lonely and dark, and it feels hard. And I know that you want to close off your heart. Have you been using all the noise to avoid meeting your mess? You don't have to work so hard. Just stop and take a breath. And be where you are. Be where you are. Just be where you are. Be where you are. It has been good to be with you this morning. Thank you for being with us in this virtual space, whether you're watching live right now with us or you're watching the replay. Pastor Kate, you want to come lead us in the benediction?
Oh, yeah.
That's fun. Y'all are fun. I like being with you. I liked the comments in there about why we like our church is because of stupid things like Colby's hard S day. That's why I like it too. I hope y'all don't have a hard S day. And I love you. And this is our benediction. Someone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Benediction is going on screen now.
Someone want to lead us?
I do. Be brave.
Because you're a child of God.
And be kind.
Because so is everyone else. Go in peace. We love you.
Bye.